So a couple of days ago, I was invited to be part of a live stream on the Reality Survival YouTube channel. JJ Johnson, real nice guy. I've actually been following him for a long time. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. And we were talking about CBDCs, and we brought in another guy that just showed up in. I think he was called like Emergency Survival Tips. That's what it was, Emergency Survival Tips. And I'll also leave a link to his channel down below as well. And he started talking about CBDCs in a way that I had never heard before. And it actually started making me wonder if these things are even possible. We're sitting around worried about the CBDCs and whether the government is going to shove them down our throat or not. And then this guy started talking, and he changed our perspective completely. What I'm about to show you is going to blow your mind. Just listen to this. Even if you're just at work, just listen to what the guy says. He talks really fast, but he says lots and lots of logical stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and play that for you right now. Here we go.
So it looks like we got somebody else trying to join here. Let's see who this is. Des Smith, can you hear us?
I can indeed. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, wonderful.
Emergency Survival Tips. Is that the name of your channel?
Yep, and Desolator Magic. You're probably more familiar with that.
Ah, Desolator Magic. I recognize that that YouTube name. Are you a crypto guy? Desolator.
Oh God, yeah. That was one of my most popular videos. I lost $110 million on Bitcoins because I sold them in 2011.
Wow.
Oops. Let's put an oops on that one.
So since you have some understanding of all this, where do you think the CBDC stuff's going to go?
Oh, I have a very different opinion on that. People are too irresponsible for something this one way. There's no undo button. You send Bitcoins, it's gone. There's no, oops, we can fraud alert it. Oh, we can reimburse you. No, if you have a wallet and the wallet gets stolen, that's it. So they would need the strongest encryption ever. And the problem is, you ever heard of store now, decrypt later? What do they call that? That's some acronym, but it's well, we're storing stuff right now that we can't decrypt because they don't think computers will get more powerful, because you would need 1,000,000 times more powerful computer, and you'd be looking at have a 10 times.
So you're losing me there. So you're saying you think that CBDC will happen, or CBDC?
Oh, it won't. They'll try it. It'll be a disaster. They can only do it at a ultra high level, because if you get hacked, it's all gone in one go, just like that, just like the exchanges in the last 10 years.
Why do you think that CBDC won't happen? What are the main reasons?
Just, it's too easy to you compromise one system with one virus that you custom wrote for that one server, and as long as it's on the internet, you just stole the Bitcoins. And you could store their private wallet address and they have no idea what happened. And as soon as they feed it through a quantum computer, boom, you've got it. So
even if it's a decentralized system?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because your like deed to own Bitcoins is just a decryption key. It's a glorified password. It's 256 characters, I think. Right. So if somebody could reverse that sometime in the future, they could just steal all Bitcoins that exist and collapse it. And so, foreign entities, it would just be like the hack wars. Like, it would be like China trying to steal money from Russia's central bank and all that. And oh my gosh, just the level of, I pressed one button and sent 1,000 to this person. What do I do? Well, you can't call and give a fraud alert within 90 days. It's gone. That's why I said at a high level, it might work. But when you do a transaction, there is no reversing that. And the other problem is the government wouldn't be able to print money. On a blockchain, you cannot create money that didn't exist. You have to get it from somewhere, mine it yourself.
You're assuming that the central bank wouldn't be able to go back and audit the blockchain.
Oh, they could. It's just, what if the government's like, we need to print $1 trillion? Well, you can't, because now instead of just printing pieces of paper, you have to actually come up with wallet addresses and actual funds, so they'd have to have one where they could just push a button and add to it, which you can code them that way. That they have ones that inflate and deflate, like where every time you do something, it burns 5%, that was kind of neat, but you can do the opposite. Tokens, I think you can mint more tokens depending upon what chain it's on. So the technology is almost there, but I think they're like, man, what would happen if our main servers in the bank got compromised? Like, that's horrific. They could just take $1 trillion from the US and just kill them instantly. So it's too dangerous. It's too one way. It's too irreversible.
what would be the difficult thing about just having multiple iterations of the same thing, and then they take it from that one, they just delete that shit. It's no good anymore. The next one's online. It's the same as it was.
Yeah,
Like,
they'd have to convince everyone to do it. And if it's decentralized, they have to get 51% of the nodes to agree on it and vote. But if they already own all of them, they're going to say, oh, this stolen money, boom, kill it.
I'm saying a CBDC, a central bank digital currency, not decent. Well, decentralized in the fact that it could be decentralized through like the different Fed banks and processors and that kind of thing, you know, like, but not like through every user's computer. So more of a decentralization.
Yeah, they just wouldn't let people onto that blockchain. But how do you prevent that? How do you not spoof the IP? They'd have to build their own internet, which the military kind of has their own internet. So, you know, whatever, couple fiber lines, cheaper than it used to be. But at a certain point, you got to enter the internet because you got to have that terminal up at the gas station, you know? So it's like the logistics are almost there, but the almost is a very difficult, you know, remaining 10% to roll it out. Very, very difficult. Yeah, and then what do you do if the internet goes down at a place? Oh, now we just can't take money because you're not allowed. And people would just, I mean, they've done this historically, like even in, you know, hyperinflation out in Africa, they just start trading other things. They just make up their own token. They make up their own little, oh, these rocks are worth this. Oh, we'll just trade gold. We'll just trade, you know, rice. We'll just trade these slips of paper, whatever.
What's your take on the FedNow system?
I don't know if I've read too much about it. Is that like some kind of proposed, like we're going to do it, here's the initial beta version or something?
Yeah, it's going live in what, July, I think it is. I think it's
July.
Oh, good luck.
So it's basically just replacing, right now it's just the digital backbone that's replacing the SWIFT and the CHIPS international monetary transfer system, so that, you know, when you wire money, it doesn't take multiple days. It's a digital, you know, transaction that happens immediately.
And that's kind of handy. I mean, you're actually taking the power away from like MasterCard and like what is it, Stripe. I don't have a problem with that, but then you're putting it in the Fed's hands. So
the theory is that FedNow will probably end up being the digital backbone for some sort of a, you know, Fed centralized, you know, digital currency or whatever.
I just think the whole, okay, guys, now cash is illegal. Everybody has to spend it with this. How do you do a private key? If your phone gets stolen and it's on there, somebody forgets their password. If you forget your password to $100,000 bank account or your mortgage, you got a problem. That's why.
I think it'll be tied to your bio identity.
Well, that's the problem. Anything that can be a bio identity can be read. So let's say I walk up to an iris scanner at the bank. Well, what if I walk up to an iris scanner at Walmart? It was hacked and now they have my iris. I can change a password. I can't change my iris. I can't change the veins in the back of there. Well, then what do? Somebody has your private key. I mean, your fingerprint, what are you going to do? You know, and then if you lose your finger or your hands, boy, you're in
these
trouble.
Are all good questions. These are all good questions. It would be interesting to see what happens.
Even if they're like a 5-minute DNA sequence, which, you know, we're probably 10 years out from that. Well, then you can't change your DNA sequence. That's just, you know, like, what are you going to do? What would be your private key? And people are too stupid to remember their passwords to like Facebook, let alone their entire net worth.
So don't you think it would be possible to be like a multi-factor authentication? So some sort of bio identity, some sort of PIN or password, and then, you know, some sort of a government, you know, issued number or something along those lines?
Potentially, but it's just more things for people to forget, you know, especially the elderly. I mean, just with, you know, declining mental states, it's like, geez. So they'd have to have some accessibility thing for them. And then people without eyes can't do iris scans. People without hands can't do fingerprints. And my bank's trying to roll out this nonsense with veins or something in your hand. I'm like, oh, that could change over time. That's just stupid. But see, they're like, it's for more security. I said, okay, what would happen if this fails, if it doesn't recognize me? Oh, we would ask for an ID. I said, well, why would I want 2 ways into my account when I could just have 1 way into my account? And if it fails, the first thing you're going to do is ask me for the weaker one. And they're like, I don't really have an answer for that. I'm like, good, because I'm not doing it. Yeah, if they could do it just to tax the feds and their coffers and then not do it at the local level, so, you know, you don't have to go buy a bag of chips with crypto, I think that's doable. But rolling it out to everybody and saying this is the future, you know, like I read a book one time, it was written in the 80s, which was wild. They just had credits on a belt and they just tapped and everybody was cool with that. I'm like, they must not have thieves then. You know, bump it up Indian. Oh yeah, there you go. But I mean, if you rolled out some quantum stuff and you had some, I don't know, embed some what is it? Entangled photons inside your finger or something. Like, okay, that actually would be perfect, but we're 20 years out from that because they collapse. That's the problem. You need to refill them. But the problem with the government running, like right now, they had this problem ever since 2011 when people are running ASICs and stuff. They're like, well, we're running CPUs and GPUs. We can do this many calculations per second on Bitcoins. And then somebody comes out with this purpose built that looks like a toaster, acts like it too. I actually use one to thaw out a steak. And it can do almost as much as like your whole state. So you got one of these 1,000 watts. It can do the entire amount of like the entire state around you. And people are like, what if somebody had 100 of these? And then we found out the factory does have 100 of these. And they said, don't worry, we're not turning them on ourselves. And we're not going to sell more than X% to someone else. And people are like, they could just fire them all up. And now they say, now I am 70% of the Bitcoin processing nodes. I'm going to forge a block that doesn't exist that says I own 25% of all Bitcoins. I mean, that would be really bad. If it did happen already in the past, we wouldn't know about it. So if they knew that a certain portion of the early Bitcoins were lost, like they knew this range belonged to this person and they deleted their wallet, they could have already stolen the keys to that by forging a block with they call it a 51% attack. So let's say the government runs all of them. They don't let people mine. The government is running 100% of the servers. They could just forge a block that says, well, now you don't own that. So it wouldn't be crypto. It wouldn't be perfect. It would just be a farce because they could just say, well, we're putting in the database that this happened and this happened is a penalty of 20% because we didn't like what you said. So it would be like the opposite of like the perfect flawless Bitcoin system. It would be, they are the central authority and they're in charge of all of it.
So basically, there's a very good possibility that the CBDCs won't even work. I kind of imagine it as the Obama rollout, the initial rollout of Obamacare. And remember how the website just crashed? It's going to be extremely difficult to control these things. It's going to be extremely difficult to make this happen. And, the one key thing that the guy said that really stuck into my head was there's no way to change your login. I'm glad I could share that with you. And if you like what I'm doing, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. And as usual, stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye-bye.